Phones are destroying children, experts warn, as parents face growing scrutiny. By Red Alert Team. Concerns over the impact of mobile phones on children's development are intensifying, as growing volumes of research and real-world observations point to serious cognitive, emotional, and behavioral consequences linked to early and excessive screen exposure. Multiple international studies have found that prolonged use of smartphones among young children is associated with reduced attention spans, delayed language development, behavioral difficulties, and impaired emotional regulation. Child development specialists warn that the brain, particularly in infancy and early childhood, is highly sensitive to external stimulation, making uncontrolled digital exposure especially harmful. Beyond academic research, the issue is increasingly visible in everyday family life. Parents and caregivers are frequently observed using phones as a quick solution to calm crying infants or restless toddlers. While the practice may offer short-term relief, psychologists caution that it replaces critical human interactions, such as comforting, teaching, and emotional bonding, which are essential for healthy development. By the time children reach primary school age, phone ownership is becoming normalized. Many parents report feeling pressured to provide devices due to peer influence or educational demands. However, experts argue that without strict boundaries and supervision, smartphones effectively grant children unrestricted access to the internet, exposing them to inappropriate content including pornography, violence, and harmful social influences. Digital safety advocates stress that children lack the cognitive maturity to process such material. Early exposure can distort perceptions of relationships, normalize extreme behavior, and foster unhealthy habits that persist into adolescence and adulthood. The developing brain absorbs what it consumes, one child psychologist noted, warning that repeated exposure shapes long-term thinking and behavior patterns. Comparisons are often drawn between today's children and previous generations who grew up without constant internet access. Older generations typically encountered adult concepts gradually through age-appropriate social experiences. Educators argue that this slower exposure supported stronger focus, patience, and resilience, traits increasingly reported as lacking among screen-dependent children. Teachers across multiple education systems have echoed similar concerns, citing rising classroom challenges, including poor concentration, impatience, and emotional outbursts linked to screen addiction. Some children reportedly experience anxiety or anger when separated from their devices, a pattern experts describe as digital dependency. Religious and cultural leaders have also entered the debate, framing unchecked technology use as a moral and social issue. While language differs, the underlying message remains consistent. Convenience-driven parenting choices are placing children's long-term well-being at risk. In response, child welfare advocates are calling for a renewed emphasis on parental responsibility. Recommended alternatives include increased reading, supervised play, structured learning, and direct parent-child engagement. Experts stress that technology itself is not inherently harmful, but its misuse during critical developmental stages carries lasting consequences. As evidence mounts, the debate is shifting from whether phones affect children to how urgently parents, schools, and policymakers must act. The message from researchers and observers alike is increasingly clear. Protecting children's minds requires intentional limits, active guidance, and a willingness to choose long-term development over short-term convenience.